So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Test and Trace, which is Serco Test and Trace, by the way, in case anyone's forgotten, has helped the Indian variant spread, the report says. So this is from Laura Kuenssberg and Sebastian Ash. It's very surprising that Laura Kuenssberg is criticising the government, but she's done a tiny bit of that over the last couple of weeks, which I found very interesting. Anyways, failures in England's test and trace system are partly responsible for a surge in the Indian variant in one of the worst affected parts of the country, a report seen by the BBC says. For 3 weeks in April and May, local authorities in England did not have access to the full data on positive tests in the area. So Test and Trace, which has an enormous budget, by the way, they've set aside 36 billion for Test and Trace over the last 2 years. An enormous amount of money, enormous amount of wasted money, where Serco aren't even paying some of the people that are working for them from stuff that I've read by the looks of things. Like, how do you pay so much money and get such poor service? I don't understand. So for 3 weeks in April and May, 8 local authorities in England did not have access to the full data on positive tests in their area. So because of this kind of privatised system that we are running with Test and Trace, right, local authorities didn't have access to the number of people that were COVID positive in their own areas. They didn't even know what was going on in their own constituencies because the people at Serco didn't tell them, by the looks of things. The number of missing cases was highest in Blackburn with Darwin and Lancashire. A recent surge in infections there has been linked to the Indian variant. The Indian variant, which the UK let in very, very stupidly, and we're going to be talking about the government being fact-checked on this stuff recently, with George Eustace being on Good Morning Britain, getting absolutely hammered by one of the hosts there. Genuinely body-checked him really aggressively. The government said a small number of people in contact with those who tested positive for coronavirus had experienced a temporary delay in getting a message from Serco Test and Trace. Right. From what I remember, okay, it takes about, you need to tell someone that they've tested positive. You need to tell a person who's come in contact with someone who's COVID positive within at least 10 days. 2 days. The maximum is 2 days. You have to tell someone that they've been in contact with someone who is COVID positive, because if you don't, that person will go on to infect a lot of other people potentially, because they didn't know that they're potentially carrying the virus, right? They say temporary delay. They don't actually tell us how long this delay was for. If we imagine it's a few days, because this is a big scandal now, so if we say it's 3 or 4 days that you haven't told the people that they've been in contact with someone with COVID, what that means is that you're going to have another disaster where it spreads very quickly, which is something we have now. Shock. The other areas affected by what is thought to have been a technical glitch were Blackpool, York, Bath, and North East Somerset, Bristol, North Somerset, Southend on Sea, and Thurrock. So a technical glitch, right? Is that what we're calling it? Okay. You've had over a year to sort this stuff out, and you're having technical glitches now. When the country actually needs your system the most, I think this year, outside of kind of January and February, we've needed the system the most right now, and it's not working. Like, how crazy is that? Genuinely, these people, man. Serco Test and Trace, for which £37 billion has been set aside. It's meant to identify people who have been in close contact with someone who has caught COVID. Then they can't even do their job properly. Could you imagine, yeah? You have a budget of around £37 billion and you can't even do your job properly? We're not asking them to send someone to the moon or to Mars. This isn't SpaceX here. We're just telling people, look, if someone comes into contact with someone who's got COVID, just alert them. This isn't the hardest thing in the world to set up. Between the 21st of April and the 11th of May, the system only provided details of a limited number of positive cases of coronavirus to the 8 local authorities. And this is one of the reasons why COVID is spreading so much now. It's not just the new variants, so much more contagious, is the fact that Test and Trace isn't doing its job. Once again, this is the 3rd time now that we've needed Test and Trace to do its job properly, and the 3rd time it's failed. On the 11th of May, we were told by the Department of Health and Social Care that over that period, 734 positive tests have not been reported. Okay, so we know the original strand of COVID, the original variant, okay, that came out of China. One person infects around 1.3 people. We know that the Kent variant is about 30% more contagious than the original one. And from what I've read, this new variant the Indian one is 30 to 50% more contagious than the Kent variant. So I'm not going to do the maths because I'm not very good at it, but that tells you it's way more contagious than the original one. And having 734 people not having those contacts traced, especially as indoor eating has opened up this week, is a disaster, is it not? This is crazy. According to a report by officials at one of the councils affected, the Central Test and Trace system failed to notify its staff of cases, meaning their contacts could not be traced locally. So now you have people who absolutely could not be traced at all. So they could easily spread COVID to other people, especially if they are asymptomatic, especially if they don't realise that they have it, they're a carrier for the illness. They can infect loads of people. And this government just failure upon failure, and people still like them. People still vote for them. What do you see in these people? This is like telling someone your partner is no good for you. They're dangerous. They're causing you constant problems. Saying no, it's fine. Only get a black eye once in a while. This is what this is. People still vote for these people, the Tories. I don't get it. It says that the rapid spread of the Indian variant may be partially or largely attributed to the risks in the international travel control system because we didn't shut down the border early enough. That's not a hard one to figure out. These were exacerbated by the sporadic failures of the National Test and Trace system. Right. So the combination of the government's failure to shut down the border, shut down the travel corridor with India, that was a major problem, and the fact that Test and Trace didn't do their job. Shocker, these two things combined give you a potential third wave. Or would it be fourth wave? Third lockdown? I don't know anymore. 6 of the local authorities have confirmed to the BBC they experienced problems. 6 local authorities. 6. And that's going to go up, I reckon. We're going to find out more about this. Although it is thought that the people tested were given their results, local authority staff were not provided with contact tracing information through the local system. So people were told, yeah, they're COVID positive, but the people that they have been around were not told that they came into contact with someone with COVID. And that means that, they will not isolate, or it's going to take them time. It takes around 3 days for the virus to incubate. So within those 3 days, they could have infected more people before they've even realised they're positive. That's the situation right now. You're either asymptomatic, which means you can infect a whole load of people because you don't realise you have COVID, or within the space of those 3 days, you could potentially infect a lot of people because it takes a few days for the virus to actually kick in the system and do damage. First contact. Some 2,967 cases of the India variant, which is believed to spread more quickly than the Kent variant, which I think we know to be true now, that caused the winter spike in infections have now been identified in the UK. You've got almost 3,000 cases, and you know what? It's probably higher. It's probably higher by the time you watch this video. The government added India to the red list of countries for which travellers must quarantine in a hotel or return on the 23rd of April, 2 days after the problems with Test and Trace started. We were not prepared for this. Despite the Indian variant being a known entity since, I think, October. We were not prepared. And the simple fact is the government were chasing trade deals and commercial deals instead of doing what needed to be done to protect this country, which kind of sums up the government's policy when it comes to trade anyways, right? Which is just chase trade deals, who cares about consequences? Now we're seeing another consequence of the government's actions to appease a guy like Modi. What's happened is we've allowed the India variant to come into this country. For the record, guys, if anyone doesn't realise, we're an island. We didn't have to allow this to happen. Control borders where cases went unreported, they were also, in many cases, unable to offer support to isolating individuals. So people who actually did the right thing and decided to self-isolate couldn't actually get access to things like sick pay because they couldn't get it because of the way the test and trace system worked. So the people who actually took the right decision were offered, I think it's like £80 a week for sick pay instead of getting what they would normally make, which might have been a couple £100 a week, which people struggle to live on anyways. So people can't live on sick pay. It's not enough. We've talked about that ad nauseum in this country for minimum a year. More people have realised that, but we've talked about it for a long time now. Sick pay is not enough. And so the people who made the right decision and isolated couldn't even get access to sick pay. That's how bad the system is. That's how bad the Conservative government are, and Serco and the rest of the gang. The Department of Health told Blackburn with Darwell Council that there were 164 cases it had been unaware of, and the people affected were subsequently traced. But how long did it take to trace them? Was it more than 2 days? Because if you did, then, it's kind of, I think some scientists said it's pointless because they've already infected a load more other people, especially since indoor eating, you can go indoors in a restaurant. That's where COVID spikes generally happen, especially in pubs where people get wasted because certain people in this country can't handle their liquor. Another 130 cases were not reported, but because they had passed the 10-day isolation period, could not be followed up. Even when cases were uploaded to the system on the 12th of May, some key information such as phone numbers or addresses were still incomplete. So, Serco, who have been doing this for over a year now, still can't do the basics right of getting phone numbers and addresses right. These people are embarrassing, honestly. You got John Ashworth, who's the Shadow Health Secretary, said it beggars belief that councils could be left in the dark for 2 weeks when we know acting with speed is vital to containing an outbreak. Do you remember when Matt Hancock said, sometimes we can be accused of acting too quickly? Is this one of these cases, Matt? You can be accused of acting too quickly because councils were only left in the dark for 2 weeks, right? It could have been longer. And maybe a less competent government would have left it. Maybe they would never have told them that the Indian variant's in their area. Huh? He added, ministers need to explain what's gone wrong and provide local health directors with all the resources they need to push down infections, which is a good point from Ashworth. Not a hard one to make. So we've got a Department for Health and Social Care person saying a small number of contacts of positive cases experienced a temporary delay. How long was that delay? How long was it? They go on to say all individuals were contacted and instructed to isolate for 10 days. We know that's not the case because some people were not told. So when they say here, all individuals were contacted, that's all individuals you have records of, because some people had passed the 10-day isolation period and could not be followed up, and also the fact that some of the records were incomplete. So how did you contact someone who doesn't have the right amount of digits on their phone numbers, or you didn't have the right address for them? How did you contact them? A spokesperson for the government. Can you answer that? No, because you're an unnamed source who, doesn't have to put their name on anything, so therefore there are no consequences because you can tell whatever lies you want, and the BBC will publish it without giving you any critical analysis or any pushback. Why? Because that's how the BBC are. And you could argue the pushback's all up here, but if you read these two statements, you're going to think, some people passed the 10-day limit, so they couldn't be helped. But in the end, the government did contact and instruct people to isolate. All individuals were contacted and instructed to isolate for 10 days. So imagine, you've got COVID, you get through it, you don't have the symptoms that bad, and then, after your 10 days is up where you're meant to isolate because you had COVID, government contacts you and is like, you need to isolate for 10 days because you had COVID. Sick one. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.